June 4th, 2010, I woke up with one thought in my mind: graduation. My high school career was coming to an end. I had an endless list of reasons to be excited. My buddies and I could not wait to celebrate the adventure we had worked so hard for and reminisce over the memories we'd shared together. The Porterville High School graduating class of 2010 was prepared to open a new chapter in our lives. We would move away, start college, get jobs, and I could not wait to begin working with my newly elected state officer team. We had been in office for about a month, and I would be moving to the FFA Center shortly after graduation. But before all of this excitement could happen, I had to spend the first half of my day at work. Yay me, right? Well, it wouldn't be too bad, I'd make a couple hay deliveries, watch the feed store for a couple hours, clock out, and make my way to the stadium. Diploma, here I come, baby. That is, until I received a text message from a friend of mine who had graduated the year before me. He informed me that an old football teammate of mine, Jake, had been injured in a car accident earlier that morning. He wanted me to find out if he was okay. Right then, nothing mattered. I no longer cared about graduation, the work I was right in the middle of, nor did state office even matter anymore. My mind raced as I tried to get a hold of friends and old teammates, none of them answering, until finally, I called my coach. When he picked up the phone, I asked if Jake was okay. He replied in a broken and quiet tone, "Casey, Jake is dead." His brother was driving him and a friend home late last night from a party. They'd all been drinking. They went around a curve and lost control. The truck went through a fence and hit a tree. Jake's side of the truck made direct contact with the tree, and he was killed on impact. Sorry, Casey. I stood there in shock. I couldn't believe it. How could a man I had bled, sweated, and cried with for 4 years of my life out on the football field be gone in the blink of an eye? We were almost there. Graduation was right around the corner. Only a few short hours, and our entire class would be filling the stadium with excitement, smiles, and laughter. After the phone call, I dismissed myself from work to go see Jake's parents. His mother clutched me in her arms, knowing that her very own 2 boys had been taken from her. One forever, and one to jail for the responsibility of his own actions. When I walked into the stadium that evening, I found myself standing in front of the chair Jake was assigned to sit in. His jersey was draped over it. It was covered in flowers and notes from friends and family. I stood there knowing that because of one simple choice, I would never see him again. June 4th was no longer just a day of celebration and achievement, but a day that we all said goodbye to a friend. I've come to the conclusion that over the course of our lives, we all make choices. That's a no-brainer, right? However, most of these choices are minor, and we see these decisions as having little to no effect on our lives. When in reality, our choices are like casting a stone into a big pool of water. It's all one big ripple effect. Our choices not only affect our lives, but the lives of those around us. It is time we realize that our choices have consequences and that we have the opportunity to learn from the poor choices we and others make. So our choices have consequences, some good and, well, some bad. Now, Jake, he wasn't the greatest student by any means, but he made the choice to turn his entire life around just to be eligible to play football. Hours upon hours of extra work in the classroom just to wear that number 75 under those Friday night lights. He had a future to look forward to. You see, Jake was a quarterback's worst nightmare. He was a mountain of a man and was fast, very fast. Every day in practice, I knew I had between 3 and 4 seconds to throw that football. Otherwise, I had Jake to deal with. He had plans to play junior college football in the fall, and if he made it out of there, would undoubtedly be playing for a Division I program. But none of that ever happened because of one bad choice. Growing up, we all have this sense of being untouchable, this false sense of security as if we're, well, bulletproof. All we care about is right now in the moment, and we don't worry about the consequences of our actions. I know I used to think this way. We hear of tragedies like my friend Jake's and think, that would never happen to me. That happens to other people. Until it happens to someone in our lives, and we realize how easily it could happen to you or me. I read in a book somewhere that a wise man not only learns from his mistakes, but from the mistakes of those around him. It is time we realize our choices, we must not only realize our choices have consequences, but recognize the fact that we have a choice of whether or not we will learn from the mistakes of others. We can't just blaze a trail through life, oblivious to the mistakes others make. Because in the end, it's a ripple effect. And everything we do affects the grand scheme of things. Jake's crash motivated the varsity football team that followed our senior year. The 2010 varsity football team swore to no alcohol from the time of his death. Instead of going out and partying after games, they simply reserved the entire back room at Denny's and hung out there together as a team. A level of accountability unheard of by a group of teenage boys. They made these little green bracelets with Jake's jersey number on them. And on the other side, it read the word choices. A constant reminder of the promise they had made to their teammates. They no longer went through life going through the motions of saying, it'll never happen to me. But instead took steps to make sure that it wouldn't. A group of these unstoppable, bulletproof boys took the initiative and are now living better lives as a result of someone else's mistake. On my last trip home, I revisited the scene of Jake's crash. The fence had been repaired, the creek was calmly running in the background, and the tree was continuing to grow. There was no sign of an accident, except for the tree's scars and what had been carved into it by friends and family. No matter who we are, who we know, or what we do, time marches on. The sun will come up tomorrow, and we will face a new day full of experiences and opportunities that we will remember for the rest of our lives. Looking back to the day before all of this, June 3rd, the day of graduation practice, I remember sitting in that stadium, hearing the laughter, plans for the summer, the anticipated for departure for schools in the fall, and of course, the overly uttered phrase of, dude, I can't believe it's finally here. I remember the invite to that party coming around, and the thought of, hey, you only graduate once, right? Could have been there that night, reminiscing with old teammates, guys I hadn't hung out with since the end of our last season together. So I had a choice. Stay home, go to the party. I stayed home, and because of my choice, I've had the opportunity to serve all of you as your state sentinel. I have traveled up and down this state, hearing your stories, getting to know you, and experiencing a short part of your lives. My choice allowed Casey Crawford to attempt to teach me how to ride a unicycle at the Superior Region COLC. Trust me, it wasn't pretty. Because of my choice, I got to dress up in a ridiculous penguin costume and go trick-or-treating with the members of the Santa Paula FFA chapter. If it hadn't have been for my choice, I may not have had such an amazing time becoming a family with my officer team. Don't go through life thinking the phrase, what if, every time you're presented with a decision. Just think. What are you going to do to become a role model in your community? Just think. What can you do to change somebody else's perspective on life? Just think. What things can you do to set yourself up for success in the future? California FFA, just think.